In the spring of 2016, we started noticing that we were losing some chlorine residuals within our distribution system.
Water quality team was seeing things that we were not seeing in our SCADA screens, but they were taking grab samples.
We saw our free available ammonias and nitrites and nitrates beginning to increase in our system, which were basically the telltale signs.
We have a situation here, we have a problem. We're not maintaining our chlorine residuals throughout the distribution system, and we're losing a percentage of what we're leaving the plant with. You're emotionally attached to this place to begin with, so you don't want anything to go wrong.
Is it really happening, and are we sure that it's happening before we, wave all the red flags and decide to do an entire free chlorine conversion?
You have that one period where you're in denial. This is not happening, this can't be happening. When you come up with a plan, something needs to happen. We have a 63-year-old water plant that just happens to be the only water plant for a city of over 300,000.
We serve 7 different counties around us, and we also serve many large industrial users. We have several large plants that actually depend on our water for processes. Our water travels about 40 miles down to the end of the distribution system, and that goes through about 1,700 miles of pipes. Our struggle sometimes is to ensure that our water quality is as good as it is at the end of the system as it is here leaving the water treatment plant.
We don't have a whole lot of days that are below 70 degrees. Our water is coming from areas that are just as warm.
We have 7 different storage tanks, both ground and elevated, and so that can also contribute to your water age problem. So that's something that we constantly are keeping an eye on and monitoring.
It's exactly the ingredients that we need for nitrification, so it's a challenge to stay ahead of it. Some of the conversations happened in the control room with me, and the water quality manager at the time said, this is what we're seeing and what can we do? What have we done in the past? For most of us, we didn't have a reference point. This was before we became one, what I would call a real cohesive team. We started to communicate a whole lot during that time.
So we worked really well with our maintenance aligned group, our water treatment plant operators, to ensure that everybody was working together and collaborating on different ideas. Conventional flushing, chlorine sweeps and valve sweeps, unidirectional flushing, tank cleaning and draining, and even some isolated chlorine burns. It definitely took a lot of energy, it took a lot of effort, because not only are we trying to face the distribution system and figure out how we can fix the problems, then we're also coming back to the office and arguing that we need to have a conversion, we need to make this happen.
It was miserable. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. You're watching your coworkers and you're trying to maintain the integrity of the plant. You're trying to keep the morale up, but at the same time, we're being attacked from every direction. For 360 days out of the year, we were okay, and then something happened, whether it was a week or 2 weeks, and we're going to be judged for a long time for those few days.
We were basically, as the utilities group or the water department, we were the bearers of this news that we had to explain to people what was going on, and we needed to do a free chlorine conversion, and it was in the best interest of everyone.
We feel bad enough as it is. We're entrusted with one of the most precious resources in the city, if not the most precious resource. That's a sacred responsibility that we take very seriously. So when we're under attack because people feel that we're not fulfilling that duty, it's pretty miserable, and we tend to take it personally. During the time when we were having a very public nitrification event, the state was starting to gear up their requirement to have a nitrification action plan. Unfortunately, we had an opportunity to put it into practice, so we tried it. We actually went through a nitrification action plan, and that's a product of our water quality team. They put a lot of work into that, and that is, as far as I'm concerned, the standard that we use right now for not just dealing with nitrification, but our action levels here at the plant.
TCEQ, which is Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, does require every system that runs chloramines to have a nitrification action plan. They started seeing these incidences of nitrification, and a lot of municipalities and utilities may not have understood what was happening. So I guess the idea behind that was we're going to have each utility develop a nitrification action plan so they understand what they're seeing and what they should be doing when they see that. So obviously it starts here at the water treatment plant. We have our operators that are watching the data and determining what the water's like leaving the water treatment plant. Within our distribution system, we also have different instruments online. At each of our tanks, we have online analyzers that are constantly projecting on our SCADA screens. We have 17 different water quality sites as well with online analyzers that show us the total chlorine and the pressure in the system. So as that data is coming in, they're monitoring it and trending it to actually see if they can catch things that are happening long term. And then of course our water quality team, we have field crew members who are actually out doing our dead and main flushing, any other conventional flushing, as well as sampling of our distribution system. Using the SL1000s has really helped us because we're able to take one sample of water and you're going to get all the data you need, total chlorine, free available ammonia, nitrates, and monochloramines as well. I think it's really important to have one big snapshot, one Polaroid of all of the data at one time for nitrification because you need to see that process that's taking place. And we're able to get that data back to our water quality specialists to then review.
We are an accredited laboratory, so not only for our distribution system, but for all of any sample that comes in, regardless if it's City of Corpus or any client that comes in, we need to make sure that we stand behind our data 100% and that we can defend our data. So it's very important that we see the numbers and that we can validate them. Having the tools, you need to be proactive. It's one thing to say we want to prevent this from happening, but if you don't have the tools to prevent it, then you're never going to be able to prevent it. So if you're proactive and you're able to say, hey, there's a new meter out there, and this can actually shed our time this much, or it can process more samples in a given time. Being able to explore those options is great.
When you're given a bad diagnosis, the first thing that you do is you question your equipment, you question your technique, and there's the potential there to spend a lot of time trying to either verify your instrumentation or verify your skills or question each other when you should be correcting the problem. We have a lot of operators that have over 20 years of experience. To get some of these folks to start adapting new technology, it's difficult because the learning curve and there's just a lot that's involved in that. But it's also important that the data we're getting from that operator is correct. And when you have an instrument that's easy to use, it's a game changer for us. It is.
We've been able to create a new plan that has got us prepared for any future nitrification. And we're able to then see it coming. We're able to see the early signs, and we're able to take quicker steps and more immediate steps to either isolate the event that's taking place or to realize that we've got a situation that may require a conversion and to go ahead and make that conversion take place.
Well, I think communication is one that we can all take away from this. We are, when it comes down to it, we're all one team, and we just need to know what each one is doing and how they're doing it, and that's important. And we also learned that there's some things that we have to maintain, that we have to be able to stay ahead as far as technology goes and equipment, and we have to be able to get data. We have to be able to get reliable data, and we have to be able to trust it.
Having that information and having those trend lines and constantly people monitoring that data, it obviously gives us a lot more confidence. The system is the best I've seen in the last 10 years that I've worked here.